Hello and welcome to this special Women at Work series. The numbers are not very encouraging. The number of women who've been in the workforce has actually been dropping after rising for many years. And this has been happening for several years now, and COVID-19 has had a particularly bad shock. Of the 15 million jobs that are still negative or lost at this point of time, almost 11% are women, but the job losses thanks to COVID-19, the economic and social shock that followed, is almost 52%. That's just current data, but the problem, like I said, is much larger and longer, and therefore the challenge to bring women into work or into the workplace is a much larger one. How can we do it? There are many ways to address this problem, of course, at a policy level, but also for people like us, it's about storytelling. And in storytelling comes the big opportunity and the challenge in some ways, visual storytelling. Can we tell these stories more visually and more powerfully in a way that influences those who are in or not in the workforce to actually participate? And of course, those who frame policy, and for people like you and me to be more involved and more aware of this issue to do something about it. To discuss this, I am now joined by someone who has been a visual storyteller, an acclaimed one for all his life, Padma Shri Sudharak Olwe. Sudharak Olwe is a photojournalist who's been in media and working on the fringe of media and activism, and has done many projects to his credit in the space of justice and of course in gender as well. Sudharak, thank you very much for joining us today. So very broadly, Sudharak, tell us about the work that you've done in particularly in gender and areas where you've and how that work has had an impact when it comes to people's opinions, views, and of course policymakers as well.
We have done a lot of series on women violence, survivor of violence, and my first book from Bombay was on women's. So I've been doing these photo stories on gender basically from long time, and and the impact of what happened unless and until you don't bring the stories in front of the society or in front of the public at large, because we most of the time we are ignorant about the issues. We don't want to see the things. We don't want to hear the things which we don't want to hear. So unless and until we don't make them very visually powerful and bring them in front of the people or in front of the viewers, then that ignorance is at least can be faded slowly, and then viewer can start understanding about the issues of, at least they start seeing it. And that's exactly where we come in as a photographer or visual storytellers, that to just show that one classic or scintillating image to share with the viewer to make an impact and continue it for longer time.
Right, and tell us about the domestic violence series you did, Sudharak. I mean, how did you go about it? How did you choose your subjects, and what was the outcome that you were aiming for?
Because in India, the woman at large is, even considering 50% of a woman work for women are there in a population, and 50%, but their role and their dignity is at stake all the time from the old many years. So and whenever I read a newspaper, I read small stories about the violence happening around the country, and then what I decided that I will follow this woman for a long time. So I'm following this woman for 10 to 12 years, more than 12 years. So whatever things happens, I go and meet them. Once the media glare is gone, then I reach after some time, and then and then first 2-3 times I go and meet them, and I try to understand what exactly have gone through their lives. I kind of listen to their stories first, and then my camera comes at the last. So I started this shooting images around the country on whether acid victims, rape victims, caste violence victims. So kind of it's kind of I meet them, talk to them, understand them, and then once my relationship is built, then I can start shooting pictures to bring those stories to public.
Right, and I know that people have reacted very positively to the work that you've done across subjects or themes. But what is the kind of reaction that you got when you did this particular series, Sudharak?
So see what happened. People when they see this, that there's a. I'll tell you one story about there's a young guy from Maharashtra, and is Nitin Age. he was killed for just talking to a young girl. He was killed by upper class, and he's come from a Dalit low background. And this picture was there in the Jahangir Art Gallery, and then people started coming up, the children and everybody, and the dialogue, the conversation they had. They said, "No, no, this nothing happens like this. This must be fake." I've never heard that somebody just talking to someone, because they don't know about the whole social, economic politics of the country, because they just know about the mall and mobiles, and beyond that they don't understand anything.
Right, and how do you combine, the visual storytelling when combined with field reporting, as you did, for example, in the Thousand Plates project, makes the whole product far more powerful, or even more significant. So tell us about how you've done that. You combined both these roles.
See what happened. We when I told you that when we enter the house of you know uh, the subject, so we have very much aware about what we want to do and what we're doing. First is the respecting that subject, making sure that the respect is there. You are not that someone who's coming from somewhere and then entering their house. So you have to kind of make sure that even your slightest mistake can be divide in between you and him. So we try to build that trust first. So once the trust is built, then you can visual your story. You can enter their space without any
Right.
barriers. They will take you. Once the trust is built, they will take you inside your bedroom and say, because they want to tell their stories. There's nobody to listen to their stories. So once you make that uh, way into their life, then suddenly those images start, emotions start coming in the pictures itself, without doing anything. And then once you kind of be there with them, and when with eye level, with dignity. So those small things I bring it, and then we bring these images more powerful, more, imagine this. The Thousand Plates was an eye-opening project, that 70% of women, I think, just eat rice and salt in this country. So can you, how no one can see these images and react to these images?
Right, and as you look forward, Sudharak, I started by talking about women at work and how can we increase the participation of women in the workforce in a formal way. How do we use this power of visual storytelling to address this, even as we address the more fundamental issue of inequality and crime against women or violence against women?
See, basically, it's very simple thing that, when even I think it's for the everywhere, that the slightest of your act, can block them coming out from their home. So, you have to make sure that they have been given that security, that trust of us, that they are safe in this environment. They can do what they want to do. And that's what, once you have given to them, and then I think it's very easy to kind of make them bring into the workforce.
Right, and as you look at your projects for 2021 and beyond, is gender an important theme in your own projects, and are you working on anything specific, or are you likely to?
No, no, I'm working on I've just done a series in Maharashtra on farmers, the widows of farmers. They're young as 18, 19, and having two children, and husband is died of a suicide. So I've been doing portrait of this woman, and then it's such as a like, such a gender bias in the society, that as soon as the husband dies, she's young with two children. Nobody trusts her, not her father, not her husband. Husband's family, husband is dead, and they've been run away from one place to another, and there's no farming to do it. There's no jobs, so it's very difficult life. That's the series which I'm working on now at this moment.
Right, and I cannot go without asking you about the work that you did on the manual scavenging series, Sudharak, and which was obviously it was something that was almost pioneering at its time, and it brought focus on the issue like never before. So when you look back now, how do you look back at what that series did and what it achieved and the effort that went into it?
Yeah, it was 20 years basically, the series which I've done 20 years back. The lot of things, yeah, I'm carrying those pictures on my shoulders. Still, the thousands of men are dying in the manhole, and they see the basically the change is there, but change is dead slow. So whether we don't know whether something is changing there or no, their laws are coming, the new law is coming, but the fundamental of dignity is not maintained, in this issue. It's the same, it remains the same what I've started 20 years back. The garbage has increased more than, it was 10,000, now it's 18,000 tons of garbage in Mumbai, and the work remains the same as it is. There's no change at all in their life or in their work condition, and they keep dying. In every 2 days, one person die from the manual scavenging in city. So the condition is very pathetic. It's not a changed, unless even Mr. Very well-known industrialist, Mr. Ratan Tata, saw these images and they started doing something. But it's still it's that that because it was a caste-based profession, so nobody's wanted to kind of change anything here. They want people wanted to remain in the same
Right.
life what they want to be.
Right. Sudharak, a lot of young people should also be taking up this work. You've talked about the importance of building trust with your subjects and the effort that you put in to build trust, and how that trust brings out the real stories that people really want to tell if given the opportunity. What would you advise other younger or aspiring photojournalists to do? Apart from, of course, building trust, how can they focus on these issues? How can they motivate themselves to focus on these issues, particularly in the context of gender that we are talking about today?
See, basically, what you have to do is you go as a human being, as one human being to another human being. It is not that you coming from somewhere else. Just be very, very polite, very, like, because they are important. You are not important. The people are important. Yeah, then only relationship can be built. Unless and until you don't start respecting their privacy, respecting their, your slightest move can deter them by giving the access. So you have to be so smart, so you have to be kind of grounded as a human being. You be a small, very very small person. Like I'm saying. And then you kind of start talking. You don't just come out with a big camera and start focusing, and before understanding their situation. You have to have empathy inside you. You have to understand what must have happened to them. Their miseries, their pain, their stories. They must have gone through a lot of hell of no justice. Nothing must have been come into their way. So you have to make sure that you understand this, and then you, as a human to another human, you start conversing with him. Make a relation. First time you go and meet them, second time, third time, then fourth time, the layers started coming up. Then they know that you're not just coming for making one image and then running away and making it a flash. So that exploiting of those images should not be there, and you have to be truthful. They are smart. The marginalized, they are only thing they are poor. It's not that they are not smart. They are very intelligent. They know more social understanding than you as a human being. They have more empathy. They have more kindness. They know. Even they're offering you a small glass of water, and if you deny, you can disconnect you. They know that this person doesn't want to be among us. So that's exactly, and what I try to do is I wanted to be one of them. So my things changes, my relationship changes with the subject. Like, and I And as soon as I say I'm one of them, I'm not above them. I'm one of them. So the things start changing. I think you have to be very human to kind of go and meet first thing, and then listen to the stories. Don't be making images, because thousands of images are making in this world. We don't have want any more images. If you just bring one small images with perfect emotions, to make that. Uh,
Right. So that I'm sure as you mentioned a very important point, which is that your camera is really the last thing that you bring to the table, so to speak. It's everything else that matters, and that's where most of the work goes in. Any quick technical tips, Sudharak, for those who are aspiring, who want to become like you? What kind of camera do they start with, if at all they should? Is there any preference or anything from your own experience that what someone who's looking for visual portraits, storytelling, what is the kind of equipment they could use?
I think just go, travel around. Nothing, your camera equipment doesn't matter. Just try to make sure that your content is much stronger. Just focus on content. The technical aspects are secondary, thirdary, unless and until you understand that emotions, that story which is powerful. Things have changed.
Right, right, and that's a very good note to end on, Sudharak. Thank you so much for joining us on this special series on women at work. I do wish you all the very best for all the projects that you're working on, and may your work continue to have the significant impact that it has always had. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.